Yeah, to enhance neutrality, I think the presiding officers need to be seen, not only seen, but also practice neutrality without fear or favor. And therefore, when somebody from the ruling party becomes the speaker or the deputy speaker, there is that natural tendency for them to favor the positions brought to the House by the ruling party. And so our proposal is to try to cure this, that immediately after they elected as presiding officers, these individuals should surrender or resign their positions as members of parliament and run the affairs of parliament with the independence that is desirable.
Maybe let's stay for me. You said the law, because this bill is passed.
Yeah, if this bill is passed in its form, the present form, certainly it gives powers to the entire parliament to cause an impeachment to happen. And therefore, an individual who would have been elected with these amendments in place has to be very conscious of what they do, because their fate can be determined by the entire parliament. And I think this is not right. There is definitely going to be carrot and stick. There is going to be fear instilled in that individual. And the most likely situation we are going to experience is that the leader of the opposition will then continue to toe the line of the government and not the line of the opposition.
Thank you so much. Mr. President.
Abotunulira Ebbigo lino mwami Lumu yeesibyeko okulabika nti aleeta mu Parliament wano baaliteeseza tebalyagala. Abantu baagamba nti baakiikirira okusobola odireeta babiganye. Katwebuuza nti akolera ani? Ng'ebibiina by'obufuzi eby'opposition byagamba nti byayagala okutereeza ate byo bimugamba ky'oleeta kifu. N'engeri etteeka lino gye liddukamu kyongera okweraga mu lwatu nti mwami Lumu emabega we tuli mu kunoonyeza tulabe kiki ennyo ekiriyo kye kimusindika emisinde bwe giti. Opposition parties yonna anti eganye, UPC eganye, FDC eganye. Katwebuuze etteeka alikolera ani? Tesobola kukkiriza. NUP weerabira etteeka lino nga lizze erigoba misinde. Teri kibiina kebejjeema terikikiririzaamu. Kakane weebuuza akolerera ani? Ne DP yaganye. Nero ayite musoma matabo. Matabo tugasoma naye manyi.
Olwaleero nga komiti ya ligo tubadde ne bibiina by'obufuzi nga FDC anti ne parties ndala UPC zizene zituwa opinion yaabwe ku biru ya muganda waffe Lumu owa Democratic Party gyagamba nti no leader opposition alondewo mu parliament basobole okuba nga ebibiina byonna bifiiringa era biwulirisa nga bimanyi birina leader opposition ali accountable oba abawulirisa asobola okukolagana nabo bulungi. So tukyatambuza meeting zigendagenda mu maaso tubadde suppose kubeera ne Uganda Law Society naye tebasobodde kujja. So tukyawulirisa zino opinion zonna we tunaamala ozisolooza nga committee then tujja kubicombininga then tutule mu meeting nga committee under the leadership ya chairperson waffe Honorable Baka Mugabi Stephen, then we tutuula tukole report, then report tugitwale ku floor ya parliament kati ababaka ba parliament be basalawo ekisembe. Tewali Ebbigo gye bakwata speed oba tewali Ebbigo gye bakwata mpola oba mpola wabula ekiriwo nti buli Ebbigo erijja libeera critical. Amateeka gatuwa nnaku 45 okubeera nga tuhandolinze Ebbigo nga liwedde era lino etteeka tuli kulihandolingira mu biseera kuba nga twagala kulizayo mu parliament. Tugenda mu kalulu akaseera akatali kawala bagenda kuleeta electoral reforms zonna zijja mu committee ya legal and parliamentary affairs. So tugenda kubeera ne pressure nyingi era committee esinga obeera busy nga tugenda mu kalulu ye committee ya legal and parliamentary affairs. So tewali muntu alina ekintu kyonna mu nsonga eno Honorable Lumu yagireeta era tugenda gikola mu bwerufu esobola okuba nga etuukira era tewali muntu atunulira muntu yenna mu nsonga eno wazira twagala kulaba nga twongera otereeza paalamenti yaffe eno gye tukoleramu.
To operationalize this. We then defined the election as being chosen or whatever designated, I don't know the word, by the party with the highest numerical strength. That act also, the law as it is, prescribed all these other benefits. So me, I thought that Parliament, yes, leaves office when the political party that nominated, isn't that the provision? You will excuse me, I haven't read the Administration of Parliament Act in recent years, but I think that is the position, that the party that chose him or her is the one that will withdraw or remove the person. So for me, 82A in the Constitution is adequately covered by the present positions in the Administration of Parliament Act Cap 272A. For me, I really think it addresses that. But let me ask my colleagues to address, General Muntu, if you will address some of the issues.
We have 10 minutes to conclude the meeting, so we can share out that time.
Thank you, Honorable Police. Yourselves as leaders of Parliament, those of us for the last 62 years. One, that in terms of building this country on strong foundations in regard to governance, that we are still a work in progress. So in determining whatever we determine, we need to ask ourselves, how can we build a country whose foundation is rooted in strong institutions? For those who believe in building strong institutions to be the basis on which a country will survive long term and build and become strong, we would like to urge you to ensure that the status quo remains. Why so? Because right now, the environment in which we are operating is quite testing. Parties themselves, the ruling party, the opposition parties, also works in progress. There are many challenges we still meet. And therefore, we would like to argue that much as there might be issues that arise within parties, that we should not try to fix short-term problems without putting into consideration the long-term consequences of some of those actions that could be taken. When you look at strong nations in this world, whether they are democracies, whether they are authoritarian regimes, at the end of it all, you'll find that they are rooted on strong institutions. Strong institutions is what makes strong states, strong countries. We need to keep focused on that and not divert from that. Two, parties in the opposition, when parties are in the opposition, it is a testing ground to enable parties to build their capabilities in preparation to take over governance when they get into power. Even in situations when they might falter, you don't try to solve a short-term problem by creating a larger problem. We have had experiences, some of us. At some point, we operated in what used to be the largest opposition party. So we talk from experience. We had two experiences where, at one point, we had an internal election for a leader of opposition. At another point, the party designated. from our own experience, it is very dangerous for you to interfere in the internal processes of any opposition party that is in position to take over the LOP position. In whatever you do, you need to avoid a situation where you create two power centers. It's an organizational principle. You let a party in opposition, the one which appoints or chooses the leader of opposition, to be able to determine whom they appoint by whatever method to be the leader of opposition. Why so? Because if you elect a leader of opposition without the main party that has that leader of opposition in place, you can easily create two power centers. And that's a recipe for disaster for that party. In that regard, what would you be doing? You just simply be weakening a party. We are here not because of the current short-term situation that there is. We are trying to look at things long-term. Because today, NRM is in power, tomorrow it could be in opposition. The parties which are in opposition, one of them could be in government. So there can easily be a temptation for people to try to create solutions because of the current challenges they may be facing. Some in the opposition, some in the ruling party. But the dynamics of today are not necessarily the dynamics of 2026, 2031, and thereafter. And in that regard, I'd also like to refer to what the Deputy Chair was telling that there were a series of risks within NUP, that therefore this bill could seek to fix that situation. If there are any internal challenges within NUP or any other opposition party, it should be left that party to be able to resolve those internal contradictions. Right now, if a party in opposition, whichever it would be, if you appoint a leader of opposition from outside their control, you'll have created a second power center. From our own experience, we've ever had that kind of situation. But we applied skills and maintained cohesion of the party until we were able to make the necessary changes. So when you have got an opposition party, and all of us who are in the opposition parties need to know that whatever you are doing within the party is being observed by the rest of the country. The opposition party, when you are in the opposition, is a testing ground. One hopes that we'll reach a point when there will be maturity in this country for people to ask themselves, can we trust a party with power? If it's a party which is within power and is not able to manage itself or manage power itself, that's the position that hopefully would lead the population to decide that this party should be moved out of power. And for those contesting for power, the population will be able to make its own decisions based on how the parties themselves manage themselves, outside Parliament as well as within Parliament. We therefore would like to really ask you, the members of this committee, consistent with our team leader, what she has already asked you to do in the conclusive remarks, that this bill should not be passed. It's a recipe for disaster for the politics of this country. We are grappling with so many challenges. The environment is not conducive for party building already. Don't add other complex situations within what is already a difficult situation. Don't create two power centers. For those of you who might be coming from NRM, you may do something now because you have got the numbers. But tomorrow, you may actually find yourselves in the opposition. That always happens. And some of these tools can easily be used if there is anybody in power who has got a tendency to manipulate, whether now or in the future, to completely manipulate and control the parties in the opposition. Be very careful. As I conclude, as Alliance for National Transformation, whatever we do, we look at things long term. 1. 2, we believe that at the end of the day, the stability of this country, the steady progress of this country can only happen when there are strong institutions. Whatever we do ask you, make judgments, make decisions, and whatever actions you take in support of the building of institutions, strengthening the parties. The parties are the vehicles of governance. As long as you operate within the current constitution, you are not going to run this country outside the parties. Strengthen political organizations. Even in situations where there are strong leaders, yes, there are times when there are strong leaders. Strong leaders need to operate within strong institutions. Unless we have given up. If we have given up on the issues of building institutions, then you can't do anything. It doesn't matter. But know that there will be consequences to that. We thank you for giving us this opportunity to appear before this committee.
Thank you so much.
And there was pressure from the people. They realized that we needed to go back to the multi-party system. And we moved to that. And then we coined and said opposition. And I think the choosing of the word chosen by the party with the greatest numerical strength probably was not in error. I want to believe pillars, leaders, I am.
Indeed, this process, when it started, Honorable Lumu, Chizito, came that we reject in totality the proposed amendment. It was well covered by the media. We went to various media stations where we were invited, both radio and TV stations, and we maintained the positions.
Honorable Chair, procedure.
Yes, please.
Honorable Chair, I don't think we are proceeding right when we don't have any document from UPC.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman said, the chairman told me that we can proceed without the document. So maybe to inform you further, we shall have some document presented by my party whip tomorrow, because she's coming tomorrow, Madam Honorable. So she will present, since she's coming back tomorrow still, the party position, which is the same as the parliamentary group. All the 11 members of parliament under the EP's ticket presented their issues, and they discussed and agreed with the party position. Yeah, so we all agreed. Proceed. Thank you very much. Only that everything you say should come tomorrow. It will come. And signed. It will be written, and I will sign it, and the whip also will sign the parliamentary committee group. So, our members sat last Thursday and also agreed with the party position, because our position is that, like the Supreme Court pronounced itself about some amendments that have to come way before the election roadmap, or should be rolled together with, before the roadmap rolls out by the Electoral Commission. We find we are very late. We need these amendments. We met with the Electoral Commission as IPOD members. They requested us to talk to our members of parliament and also the members of parliament. If the government is delaying with an amendment, like the Minister of Justice cannot bring it, maybe one member can come up with a constitutional amendment that can help them conduct the elections in a free and fair manner. So in other words, the roadmap has been rolled. We are way late in the electoral process. As you know, the roadmap of election means the election season has kicked off, because we start by electing our structures of the parties, and we need these structures to elect our flag bearers. So all these processes can only be helped, honorable members, if we have the Electoral Commission get the amendments that they need. So we are here to plead with you members, like we told Honorable Lumu, that much as he has these issues that he has raised, to help with the management within the office or election of the law. We think that for having a free and fair election, which is urgent really, which is crucial, we need to have these amendments done. 2, we looked at the amendments that he's proposing. For example, bringing the election, nominating 3 people by the party which is leading in the opposition. And if they bring the 3 people, we assume, or in his bill, he assumes that this will cure the issue of, or it will bring cohesion in the opposition. To us, we think it will cause more chaos, because as you know, members, you've been contesting. Each time you contest, the losers even go to court. So we think the members of opposition will be more divided than cure the division. So it is of the party's position is that since this one will cause more chaos than before, let us concentrate on the issues which are priority right now, which is bring reforms which will help all of you have a free and fair elections in 2026. That the Electoral Commission has requested for, that the Supreme Court pronounced itself in 2016 in the case of Amama Mbabazi versus Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So it is our request and humble appeal that members, we need to prioritize what comes first. And we think the election of 2026 is a priority to us. We think the other things can be addressed administratively. Some of the aspects of the bill that is proposing, it can be handled administratively. But for us, what is crucial for this committee, we still think you should help us with the amendments that the Electoral Commission has requested for, and also that the Supreme Court pronounce itself. Furthermore, an election cycle starts when the Electoral Commission blows the whistle. And by them rolling out the roadmap, we believe the whistle has been blown. So we have a law which is very clear, which has never been implemented ever since we had this multi-party dispensation. Honorable members, Article 4A is very clear. That would also facilitate a free and fair elections. That government, use of government or public resources for political party or organization activities. Government shall contribute funds or other public resources towards the activities of political parties or organizations represented in Parliament in accordance with the following principles. Registered political parties or organizations shall be funded by government under this Act in respect of elections and their day-to-day normal activities. But in this case, once the election season, the whistle has gone, meaning that the election year has started or program has started, parties which are funded by government under this Act will be funded equally. So we think honorable members of Parliament, you should help us, because when we were meeting Electoral Commission, they told us Honorable Asman Ambassador has been raising it in this committee, as a member of this committee, but they told him that it is Parliament to effect this by way of giving resources and pronouncing it to be distributed equally. So we think we're already in the election season. We need a free and fair elections. That is what we request as political parties who have an election to win. Actually, for us, we think it is more urgent because we want to defeat NRM and form government. We don't have time to think about being in opposition. We want you to amend laws which will make us have free and fair elections, like removing the army from the election period, to ensure that you fund police, to recruit specialized police to handle elections, a police which is trained not to look at opposition as enemy of the regime, but to look at all of us as citizens who are competing for the same good of our country. So we think we have a country to rescue. We have an election to win. We don't have time at the moment to have a bill which is going to deal with the leader of opposition, because for us, our intention is to form government in 2026. And our candidates are preparing to be nominated on the 2nd October 2025 for presidential elections. And the parliamentary candidates are preparing to be elected for parliamentary elections. So we think we should humbly urge you members, through the chair, that help us and shelve this bill. Keep it somewhere. And we have the amendments that the Electoral Commission is begging us to have, so that we have a free and fair elections, so that we have a level playing field. And that has been the one which we have been having changes in leader of opposition, but we have never had changes in the presidents of Uganda. That is what we need in 2026, honorable members. So that is what we are requesting as UPC, that we need to have laws which are going to enable us compete and defeat President Yoweri Museveni in the 2026 elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. A bill supplement on.
I want to re-echo the advice of my Secretary General that as UPC we reject in totality the entire bill of the Honorable Lumu, because political parties goes into elections with different policy platforms. So we believe as UPC we have a different policy platform, so we can't be in Parliament implementing the policy of a different political party which did not seek, we have different manifestos. So I agree, I've been represented well as a political party.
So agree with our presenter.
For giving us this opportunity to appear before this committee on this very important bill. Honorable Chair and members, I think my Secretary General has conclusively presented our views as a party. He has mentioned that tomorrow again, I will appear as a whip and bring the document signed to address the concern of Honorable Sarah. But Chair, maybe to add my voice, one, we are here. First of all, this is a democratic institution. And we are here on behalf of the people outside there. We are also here because we were placed and in ranking. The highest part, the party which gets the highest number, that is the numerical strength in this very case, is NRM. Decided by the voters, not by us in Parliament. Two, we have NUP in that sequence. So for us as a party, we feel we shouldn't disturb that alignment that was given to this institution by voters. Two, we also feel this will create a lot of confusion and chaos in the entire opposition. Three, Honorable Chair, we also want to respect the party in opposition with the highest number, because we feel the country does not gain much by having a divided, a confused opposition arising from elections. My SG has said, whenever there is any election, there is going to breed confusion, chaos, division. And to us, that is not what we want to see in Parliament coming from the side of opposition. So since I have time tomorrow, Chair, I don't want to waste, I am also part of this committee, but for now, this side, I will explain into details probably tomorrow, but we have the same voice as the party and the parliamentary caucus.
You don't have a slot tomorrow to present the document. You only hand. aligned to what you said, because if there are new issues, we won't have an opportunity to seek clarification. So just bring what you said in print and hand over to and signed to the clerk. Honorable Dur, I invite you to participate in this engagement. I don't find any conflict of interest. You had alluded to the fact that there could be a conflict of interest. I don't find any, so.
Dur was already conflicted, so probably he would sit even the other side so that we share knowledge. But the Secretary General seems to have alluded to the fact that it's not about the content of the law, it's about the timing, if I got you right. And said you have not addressed your...
element of content also. It will cause chaos, more chaos than keyword.
Now let me make my point.
Because we have participated in elections.
Chair, from the submission of the Secretary General, whom I very much respect, seems to have alluded to the timing of the presentation of the law and not deeply into its content. Should we say that that is the position, and at a later time, maybe at an appropriate time, you wouldn't mind the law coming for consideration and even its contents? That is number one. Number two, you mentioned that the UPC is now concentrating on bringing a presidential candidate, and you have not been presenting a presidential candidate for the last number of elections previous. Can we say you are now ready and you're going to present one we warm up for that presidential candidate?
Before the SG comes, as you, Honorable, on our behalf, we said as a party, the most important thing that we need from this parliament is the Supreme Court pronouncement on electoral processes. And that is what we want as a party. If that is done, we as parliament, we shall benefit. Ugandans out there will benefit, because the Electoral Commission has made mention that give us the laws early enough for us to hold a free and fair elections, so that it doesn't disturb our roadmap. The Supreme Court has pronounced itself that please, this is what we want you, the other arm of government, to do. So as UPC, that is what we are looking for from this parliament, or from the Minister of Constitutional, yes, even as a private member, you can bring it, the constitutional amendment, to help Ugandans and the Electoral Commission.
They respond to him.
Again.
Yeah, just to add on what my whip is saying is that I say the timing, we have limited time, but also, as I've told you in the content, as you'll see in the document, we talked of every election. Let me say, in this case, NUP has nominated 3 people. Or in the next parliament, NRM, which will be in the opposition, will nominate 3. Now, if NRM nominates 3 leader of opposition candidates, then UPC, which is in government in 2026, I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. Assuming we facilitate, we give some money to those NRM candidates, and the one, the weakest we want, wins. The other 2 will obviously even go to court, or they will form cliques within the opposition. So NRM, which is in opposition, will be in a state of chaos with other parties, as UPC, which is in government, would be comfortable in creating that chaos. So for me, I think, for the purposes of having the democracy that we crave for, the democracy that, the multi-party democracy that some people died for, we think we need to leave it as it is and concentrate on what my whip has said, the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, the laws that the Electoral Commission is urging us to tell members of parliament. In any case, Honorable Lumu will not be denied if Honorable Minister Norbert Mao brings the constitutional amendments, and he feels this thing can be captured also. His bill can, part of it can be captured on the amendments. He has the right to, but it should not clog, or it should not make Parliament have too much work and fail to have the amendments that the Electoral Commission is urging us to have. So my kind request to honorable members is that let us concentrate on the majors and leave the minors for some time, because, or we can shelve it if it cannot injure the 2026 multi-party democracy. So we are saying, one, it undermines multi-party democracy, that you'll see in tomorrow's document. It is redundant for now. 3, it is brought in bad faith. That's what we told him. 4, it destroys the opposition cohesion more than it builds, because the people who have lost elections, the two, obviously, you've ever been in election, the people you defeated, some of them took you to court, and it stresses a lot. So instead of causing cohesion in the opposition, it will cause that division in the opposition more. So we have a feeling that, honorable members, if we all agree, let us shelve this bill and have the amendments that the Minister of Justice should bring, the constitutional amendments, which will make us have a free and fair elections.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable Enrique.
Because he's addressing more of the general election than a small subject which is supposed to be under law. I think it would be good for purpose of record to address himself specifically. What do you say on this clause than going beyond with the general election? Because everything has its own time. Secondly, the issue of the Bureau of Lumu looks at having everybody taking responsibility. He is saying, if we are in opposition and we have an issue, can we have collective responsibility as opposition? Why should we have the leader of opposition walking away and some of them remaining? That kind of confusion. We're in the house, you see, wake up in the morning, Noop goes, others remain. Where is collective responsibility, you as parties? And that's why we say we are narrowing you to have that accountability within. When we are walking out, walk out all together. Don't walk and then others, no, there's no order for me. The last one, the last one, Chair, is
Honorable Chair, the point is in order to divert us from what we are in for.
No breach of any rule. He's just exposing his views.
I think people in category number 2. So why should I go around beating the bush when you have walked out and others have remained? That's what we're saying. Why should you people walk out and others remain? It means these people who remains uncomfortable. So when you cause this an election, you are causing collective responsibility to all of you as people of opposition. That's the point I wanted to raise on.
Solomon.
Yeah, thank you. I want to address only 2 questions because of time, Mr. Secretary General. One, I come from a very strong UPC family, Chair, and I want to declare that conflict of interest, but it will not bar me from asking my question. So UPC is a party that I respect. But Secretary General, have you addressed yourself, first of all, to the Constitution, Article 82(2)? And I want to read for you. We just ask the same question. Parliament shall by law prescribe the following in respect to the leader of opposition: how he or she is chosen and how he or she ceases to hold the office. Then 2. That is my first question. Then the second question is,
what is the question, Honorable?
My question has he addressed himself to that particular article in the Constitution and what the Constitution does and what we are doing? Then 2, what is this mischief that you are talking about as Uganda People's Congress? Because there are different parties that are in parliament that need accountability from their leaders. For example, you have UPC, you have FDC, you have NUP. All these parties need accountability from their leaders. And we are saying, the Honorable Lumu proposed to this committee that for the leader to be accountable to different parties, then they must have a say on how it he or she becomes a leader of that party. Have you looked at that matter critically? Because you are telling us general matters of elections, but you have not addressed that real matter critically. Have you looked at it critically? And then lastly, do you feel the voice of the Uganda People's Congress is felt, understood, and listened to under the current system before the amendment of the law, just the current system where the leader of opposition is appointed by one party? Do you feel the voice of the Uganda People's Congress is listened to, heard, and all your issues are sorted out by the office of the leader of opposition as members of parliament? Chair, for now, I think I'll raise only that.
The UPC, may I just wish to take opportunity to thank you to come and address the issue of national importance which we are handling now, and the position you have come up with. I think it is clear. Where I'm finding it hard, it's as if we are pushing people to our interest. So we should just realign that you maintain your position and we see how to move. It's just a minute to join us and make emphasis to Electoral Commission to push the agenda as the Minister of Justice is also pushing the same. So we achieve all, not only on this, but even other issues concerning the welfare of Ugandans as politics is concerned. I thank you.
Honorable Chair. When he says join us,
okay, now, Mr. Matters touching the broader picture, the electoral reforms have been well canvassed. You have been very clear. As a committee, we have actually put it to the Attorney General, the Minister for Justice, that we require those reforms to come. We are actually very late, so you can just concentrate on the bill in a few minutes, because we already have the FDC here and we need to discharge them as well on time. Much I want to, because that's why I did not delve into his issues of saying that UPC is bringing a candidate. That one is everybody is aware about. We are bringing one of the best, the only candidate born in State House next year, strong for presidency. But coming back to this, we want to concentrate only on Honorable Lumu's issues. We said it undermines multi-party democracy, which some people died. In front of Uganda House, Higenyi was shot dead, a young man, as they were campaigning for this multi-party democracy to come. So many people died. Honorable Cecilia was arrested in your constituency several times, not once. And it was broadcasted in BBC, locked up there in Bujiri. So issues to do with multi-party democracy that our people died for cannot be treated lightly. So if you try to subvert the democracy we brought, and which some people shed blood for, or our people shed blood for, and we know very well some people went to court and court pronounced itself, and we have already this young democracy, multi-party democracy, that we are trying to build. So as you've said, Honorable Commissioner said, Article 82.2 is very clear. I'm aware about it, on the issues of how do we elect LOP. So we are saying election, the mode of election must create harmony within the opposition. Remember, all these parties, when they are campaigning, they go with their manifestos. So if it is NRM, which got the second highest votes in Uganda, and you become tomorrow leader of opposition, in other words, you are the leading opposition, we should allow you, your party leader, President Museveni, or whoever is campaigning for presidency, to appoint the leader of opposition using their formula that you have within your party constitution.
because we know all political parties have their constitution. For us, in our case as UPC, I'm presenting what we have in our constitution. We believe the election as envisaged in Honorable Lumu's case would create more chaos. As the people who have lost, since you said that you will nominate 3, the 2 who will lose, we can even lead the walkaway that Honorable Werike is talking about. Because they will not be contented with the person who won. They will still create the opposition within opposition. So we are saying to cure this, let us go by what was tested and what we have right now. And as UPC, we kindly urge you members to accept our issues as we have raised, that 1, it undermines multi-party democracy, 2, it is redundant, 3, it is brought in bad faith, 4, it destroys the opposition more. And as we have said it, our parliamentary caucus sat down, the 11 MPs who are elected on UPC ticket, all of them agreed with the position of the party that we should shelve the Honorable Lumu's bill. In other words, we should request you people to not to even, if possible, it should not be read for the second time. Because the terrain of numbers there, we know what it will do to us. So we are urging you, because we know you as a Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee have the powers to stop it at this committee. Thank you very much.
That should really be the conclusion.
Through you, Chair, I would like to thank UPC for their wise presentation. You know, UPC has a record as the only party that holds power 2 times. And elected. So, when you hear their presentation, they have something special. So I think it will be wise for this committee to take UPC's special submission as a special thing. Thank you, Chair.
For clarity, the committee has no power to...
Parliamentary caucus of UPC has rejected the bill in totality because of the reason mentioned down and others verbally.
This must be reflected in the report, which we shall make.
Oh, so yes.
Then the House will decide.
But also there was a question some member asked about whether our voice as UPC has been listened to or heard. I want to say, if there is anything we feel that this can be handled administratively by the parliamentary leadership, we have the commission chaired by the Speaker. If there's anything, that's why that big office is there, to address the concerns of the member that the Speaker leads. So any issue that is here, we trust the Speaker that she can handle together with our commission. Thank you.
Finally,
No, we are getting money,
yes,
but this article,
I thought
let
this
me
was
give my head of
concluded.
media to tell you.
What Honorable Suman has been telling this committee is that the money should be shared equally.
During election, once the resource has been blown now, we are
We should seize the numerical strength idea and then...
Honorable Chair, subsection A, in respect of elections, government shall finance political organizations and parties on equal basis. This has never been implemented since its inception. And we're urging you, the legal committee, to explain this process to ensure that this section is implemented, because the election period has already been, is in the process, as my Secretary General has hinted. Thank you.
Wait for enough.
Honorable
Werike, what are you saying?
The MOU which UPC is having with the NRM, wasn't this conflicting? This information is giving us conflicting.
It's not part of the discussions of the day.
But Chair,
it's not
Chair,
part of the...
is on record. Let him lay the evidence. Okay, thank you.
It's not part. It's not there. So thank you so much, Uganda People's Congress, Honorable, for invitation. We will definitely reflect on these matters and have them properly taken care of in our report. And for now, we discharge you and FDC to take the chair.
I think I would prefer that my colleagues introduce themselves. My name is Patrick Oboy Amuriat from the FDC.
Good afternoon, Wakuri Madanda from the FDC.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. My name.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and members. I'm Lindwa Walid Vega from FDC.
Yeah, next. Thank you. I also invite you to a cup of tea. Yeah, you can have tea for lunch. Okay, honorable members, introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Chair. My President, your deputy, and the members you're with, you're most welcome to our committee. My name is Adeke Anebajo, District 2.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jonathan Oduth. I represent Rute County South Constituency. I am the Shadow Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
Well, Peter Christopher, Member of Parliament, Volo West, Manafa District.
Jonathan Ebualu, Member of Parliament, Soroti West Division.
Geoffrey Kayemba Solo, Member of Parliament, Bukomansimbi South.
County Central in Bujiri District, and I'm a member of this committee. You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. My name is John Taylor. I represent Bugabula County North from Kamali District. I'm a member of this committee.
Honorable, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chair. Robert Sekitoleko, Member of Parliament, Bamunanika County, Luero District, a member of this committee. Thank you, Chair.
And I am Stephen Baka. Honorable members of the committee, our stakeholders from the FDC, staff of Parliament, and the press, I once again welcome you to this meeting at which we are considering the Administration of Parliament Amendment Bill 2024. I wish to thank the FDC for responding to our invitation to come and give us their view on the clauses as proposed by the mover, and also to apologize to you for the mix-up with two stakeholders, the Attorney General and the Law Society didn't show up, and so we got a bit of mixed up. Thank you for coming on time and for keeping here up to now. You have been here for almost an hour, beyond an hour, to just wait for this appearance. We thank you for being patient, and also thank members for keeping it here from 10 a.m. We have been around. We thank you for the commitment. So we are looking at the Administration of Parliament Amendment Bill 2024, and our stakeholder in the chair is the FDC. Without wasting much time, I wish to invite...
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of this distinguished committee for according us the opportunity to interact with Parliament on a matter that is core in our operations as a national political party, the Forum for Democratic Change. The presentation that I am going to make, and I would like to seek your indulgence, members, to allow me to read the 7-page presentation, is being done on behalf of the Forum for Democratic Change leadership and also the membership of that party. And this is done in recognition of the presentation to Parliament of the Administration of Parliament Amendment Bill 2024, presented by the Mityana County South lawmaker, the Honorable Richard Lumu Kizito. And as we understand it, the object of the bill is to amend the Administration of Parliament Act, CAP 272, to, among others, provide for the election of the leader of the opposition by members of the opposition in Parliament from among the members of the parties in opposition to government having the greatest numerical strength in Parliament. Secondly, provide additional grounds upon which the leader of the opposition may cease to hold office. C, require the shadow cabinet to be approved by members of the opposition parties in Parliament. D, require the leader of the opposition to consult opposition political parties represented in Parliament when appointing chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of accountability committees of Parliament. The Honorable Lumu, who is a Democratic Party legislator, was granted leave to introduce the bill during the regional sitting in Gulu at the end of August. In his proposal, seconded by NUP's Honorable Gwe Kakembo, the MP of Entebbe Municipality, Honorable Lumu wants to amend Section 8 of the Administration of Parliament Act to allow opposition MPs from various parties to elect the LOP. According to Honorable Lumu, he argues that the current system, which grants the party with the most opposition seats, currently the National Unity Party, NUP, the authority to appoint the LOP, marginalizes MPs from smaller opposition parties. NUP, with 57 MPs, has so far appointed 2 leaders of the opposition in the 11th Parliament. Right Honorable Joel Senyonyi from Nakawa West, replacing the Right Honorable Matthias Mpuga of Nyendo Mukungwe in January 2024. Previously, we in the Forum for Democratic Change had appointed 5 leaders of opposition since the position was created in 2006. And suffices to note that we have experience being both the appointing authority of the leader of the opposition and the chief opposition whip, and also sat by as another political organization does the appointment. In the proposals of the bill, Clause 1 of the bill, Section 1 of the Administration of Parliament Act defines the leader of opposition as a leader of the party in opposition to government with the greatest numerical strength in Parliament. And honorable members, it's important to understand the reasons that informed the framers of the Act as amended in 2006. And by the way, I was privileged to be in the House at the time when this amendment was being considered. And I can say without hesitation that I'm conversant with what happened during that time. As we ushered in multi-party political dispensation from the monolithic system of the movement, where they defined the leader of opposition in parliament. And by the way, again, this was to operationalize the provisions in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as amended in 2004, after a referendum was conducted that ushered in multi-party democracy. This definition was benchmarked from the best practices that the leaders of the opposition in the Commonwealth parliamentary system are typically chosen based on their party's strength in the legislature. The party with the most seats, but not in government, usually gets to choose its leader as the leader of the opposition. This leader is often seen as the alternative prime minister or premier, ready to take over if the government in power loses the confidence of the House or the people of the Republic of Uganda. And you know that Commonwealth practice is something that we've adopted. Many things that happen in the House from the time of independence to now, 62 years and going strong, are adopted from the UK House of Commons. Even the green seats that you sit on, the wig that the presiding officers put on, and the regalia that is used in the House. In democracies, of course, the UK House of Commons, from which we draw good parliamentary practice, is a glowing success story of true parliamentary democracy. And therefore our contestation why we really would like to depart from these known norms to something new that makes us extremely suspicious as the FDC. In democracies like the Australian democracy, the leader of the opposition is recognized as the head of the alternative government. They lead a shadow cabinet, also known as the opposition executive or shadow ministry, composed of members elected by their party or nominated by the leader. Each shadow minister covers specific areas of administration and acts as the opposition spokesperson. This is written all over the place. You just have to Google and you access this information. It's available. The leader of the opposition plays a crucial role in scrutinizing the government, suggesting improvements to legislation, examining expenditures, and seeking information on government policy. They are also responsible for articulating the views of various groups within the community. We in the Forum for Democratic Change are deeply concerned about the shrinking political space for opposition parties. And the Lumu bill is a prime example of this. The FDC strongly opposes the amendment proposed by Honorable Lumu, believing it's driven by bad faith and aims to disempower opposition political party institutions. And these, those of you, the playing ground, it's my friends in the opposition that I see across the table, know the level of harassment that we have got to endure while doing our political work, whether it's during an election or during even consultations before an election, even if you convened a small collection of party faithfuls to do business, the RDC, the DISO, the GISO, the RISO, the PISO, whatever they are called, would be nosing around everywhere to inconvenience you. And therefore, their venue that is, sort of left for our members of parliament to speak about the common man would be parliament. And this itself is under attack, and our members are being disempowered. Where else do you want us to go as the opposition? Where? The bill is seen as another attempt by the government to restrict the opposition's ability to operate effectively. This is part of a broader pattern of reducing political participation, undermining public institutions, and stifling dissenting voices in Parliament. And I would like to warn the committee and Parliament at this point that the more you reduce the space afforded, even the little space afforded to the opposition, the more you are pushing those in opposition to look for alternatives. And I think this is dangerous, not only for our democracy, but also extremely dangerous for the stability of this nation. Clause 2 of the bill. Clause 2 of the bill, which seeks to amend Section 8 avalanche of impunity, the Honorable Lumu. This proposed legislation seeks to alter the current system of election of leader of the opposition in Parliament by the majority opposition political party to Parliament, instead making it an elective position by the entire opposition. This diminishes the influence of the official opposition party in Parliament. If there are any political issues within the opposition, they should not be resolved through legislation. Instead, they can be resolved administratively. It will also fuel unnecessary divisions among members of the main opposition party due to avoidable quest for top positions in Parliament. And I'm extremely, and my team are extremely comfortable, voting for a position where there is no election across, by all the political parties in the opposition in the House, knowing that we ourselves are not the official opposition. I'm sure that our friends in NUP would be extremely uncomfortable about this because they would probably have a conflict of interest. We don't have a conflict of interest. We are saying we are comfortable with this. And who is, Lumu to even begin to speak for us? The FDC. I think he's extremely out of order. It's our considered opinion that the opposition's leadership is determined by election outcome in the general election. The voices of the people spoke in the election. And that is how a political party in the opposition becomes the leading or the official political party in the House. It's not just ordained on them. It is through the election that NUP got 57 members of Parliament. Not through any other way. Denying the largest opposition party the right to elect the LOP is undemocratic and undermines the power of the very voters that put trust in them. It can also be used against the opposition by the party in power. On clause 3 of the bill, which seeks to amend section 9 of the Principal Act to provide grounds for impeachment of the leader of the opposition, the Lumu bill has sparked concerns, employed a strong opposition leader, effectively silencing dissenting voices. This fear is rooted in Uganda's history of restrictive politics, where the ruling party has maintained significant control over the political landscape. And my friends in NRM, make no mistake about this, Mr. Chairman. You could be the ruling party today, tomorrow you may be in the opposition. I am telling you this. You could be in the opposition. Don't make a law that has got colors. you should make a law that is color blind. Because, you know, when you look at people like Mbabazi today, struggling, the law he made here, he pushed for it, the Public Order and Management Act, and he was the first victim actually before us, bundled from Jinja and brought to Jinja Road Police, Kira Road Police Station. So I want you, Honorable Selwanyi, Mr. Chairman, to be conscious of the laws you make in this House. If the Lumu bill becomes law,
Mr. President, address the committee.
Mr. Chairman and the committee, I was talking to the NRM, you know, members of this committee. If the Lumu bill becomes law, and I hope it doesn't, it would further entrench the NRM's control by allowing the ruling party to manipulate the opposition's leadership. This could lead to a situation where the leader of opposition is forced to toe the NRM's line, fearing impeachment if she doesn't comply. And I know what goes on in this parliament. When a hot issue comes up on the floor, there are going to be telephone calls, you know, to the leader of the opposition. You risk towing that line, tomorrow the axe will fall on your neck. And trust that the leader of opposition will be a human person. He's been a human person. She's been a human and will always be human. And they will react in fear. Very few will stand up and say, bring your axe and here is my neck. Clause 4 of the bill seeks to amend Section 11 of the Principal Act under the proposal A, B, and C. We in the FDC believe that it's inordinate to require shadow cabinet to be option of members of the opposition parties because of the following grounds. Firstly, lack of unity and coordination. When multiple opposition parties are involved in approving the shadow cabinet, it can lead to disagreements and power struggles, ultimately weakening the opposition's ability to effectively challenge the ruling party. So many cooks actually spoil the soup, as you're aware. Number two, inefficient decision making. The need for consensus among multiple parties can slow, bog down decision-making processes, hindering the opposition's capacity to respond promptly to government actions. Number three, diluted accountability. With multiple parties involved, accountability becomes dispersed, making it challenging to hold individuals responsible for their actions and policies. You know, now, how does an FDC leader of opposition go after a JEMA shadow minister? It makes it very difficult for accountability to be realized. Conflicting interests. Different opposition parties may have varying interests and priorities, potentially leading to conflict policy positions within the shadow cabinet. And lastly, loss of opposition identity. A collective approval process may blur the distinct identity and values of the main opposition party, making it harder for voters to understand their stance. On the other hand, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, Honorable Chairman and members of this committee, having the main opposition party designate the shadow cabinet from our own experience allows for, number one, clear leadership and direction. A single party can provide a unified vision and direction, enabling more effective opposition. Streamlined decision making. Decisions can be made more swiftly, allowing the opposition to respond promptly to government action. And you know, Honorable members and Mr. Chairman, you just have only 5 years here. The first year is for settling down. The second is for beginning to work. And probably the third is for working. The fourth, you are going to go to the constituencies because you are being harassed in the constituencies. And the fifth is an election year. In fact, part of it. Because an election will take place around January or February. And after you are elected out, voted out, you will be sitting in for a short time before the new parliament is sworn in, with very low morale if you don't return. And I'm speaking this from experience. And so parliament should not be entertaining any business that wastes the time of parliament. Accountability and clarity, voters can hold the main opposition party accountable for their policies and actions, promoting transparency. The FDC are concerned that the Lumu bill has indeed raised concerns within the FDC regarding potential to disrupt Parliament's current structure. One of the key issues is that the ruling party doesn't elect its government chief whip or prime minister. It doesn't. They are appointed by the president. They are. And nobody questions the appointment by the president. All that is done is the names are brought to the House, the one for prime minister, the one for vice president. I hope it still happens today as it happened back in my time. And then, you chorus in approval. Often it happens. The question is put and their eyes will always have it. Why then is the opposition under this bill being subjected to this kind of torture? The bill's timing and motives is questionable, as it may be driven by personal or party interests rather than a genuine desire for reforms. And we'll be proposing some reforms to you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. Concerns about the potential for favoritism in the process of bills, noting that the Lumu, we in the FDC know the Lumu bill was fast-tracked while other private members' bills remained stuck. We are further amazed at the speed undertaken in processing this bill by the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, which looks fishy. Whether, this is being, forced down your throats, this is a bill that is being considered at a supersonic speed. And, subject to our suspicion. We suspect you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll explain.
The Lumu bill has indeed raised concerns within us regarding the potential, its potential to undermine opposition unity and cohesion. This amendment could create divisions within the opposition, favoring smaller parties over larger parties. In order to become the official party in parliament, you have to work hard. You have to fight. You have to, look for votes. And that is why we respect the NUP. They got 57. We do. Now, you are going to have a small party. I don't intend to undermine anybody. All I am saying, all the parties in the opposition should work so hard so that they may be the official party tomorrow, opposition party. As the FDC, it's essential to carefully consider the potential implications of the Lumu bill on opposition unity and cohesion, ensuring that any reforms prioritize the interests of the Ugandan people. Uganda has a lot of pressing issues which need to be addressed than the Lumu bill, this Lumu bill. And those of you, will bear testimony, you will bear witness to what is happening in the countryside. I move a lot in this country beyond just constituencies, and I know There are pressing needs of Ugandans that need to be addressed by the August House. We would like to recommend, if you really would like some reforms to happen in this country, one, that you amend the Administration of Parliaments Act, Cap 272, to provide, if you must, provide for a different way the elections of the law can be done only if the runner-up in the presidential elections holds that position and is therefore admitted to Parliament. That somebody has gone around the country, got 1 million and a half votes, and he or she is left out there without a platform from which to speak, is unreasonable. It is, undesirable in our context. You too should, or Parliament should, expedite the consideration of electoral reforms. And I think that Parliament after Parliament has been unjust to our democracy. From the time I was here, first here nearly 20 years ago, we began to sing about electoral reforms. To this day, the proposals that we made have never seen the light of day. And you are passing this over to the next Parliament. And yet, there is a need to respect our democracy, to make it more refined. There is a need to respect the ruling of the High Court, it was Supreme Court, that ordered the people in power today to consider certain reforms. This is in the record of the courts of Uganda. Now, if you are not going to listen to courts, whom do you want to listen to? We also would like you to consider, Parliament to consider, an amendment to the law to provide for the resignation of elected members of Parliament, for the resignation as elected members of Parliament of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker upon elections as parliamentary presiding officers. This is something that we've also sung about, and we believe that it would cause the Speaker and Deputy, the presiding officers, to be neutral, arbiters in the House. In conclusion, there is no defect or mischief at all that necessitates the amendment of the Principal Act. We consider Honorable Lumu's proposals as redundant, not curing any defect in the current law. This committee should find by or in itself to recommend to Parliament the discarding of this bill without resorting to further waste of Parliament's time and taxpayers' money. It should be quashed, and really Parliament should not be allowed to spend our money with the taxpayers, talking about something that is not very useful to this country. Mr. Chairman, I thank you very much for allowing me to put this position across, and if you will allow some interventions by my colleagues who have come with me, if you could give them some bit of time to weigh on what I have said. This is a jointly prepared document, sure. But while reading, it's possible to miss out on certain things. So, Mr. Chairman, the discretion is yours, either to allow or not to allow my colleagues to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The document has been very clear, precise, and to the point. So the officials have only 1 minute to augment a point.
Emphasis should be really put on the constitutional reforms that have come to this House since since the 2006 elections. I don't know why we still have the army in that parliament, because we know that the army came as a result of the NRM, which was a movement system representing, everybody needed to represent their interests. But now I want to ask, you want to ask, whom does the army represent in that house? So these are the reforms that really need to be expedited. Secondly, I want to speak on behalf of the FDC women and on behalf of the women in this country, that the affirmative seat has become increasingly a burden to the women, because everybody here, all women, know that this is a very, very big constituency compared to their male colleagues. And at this time, there has been also a call to reduce the members of parliament. And there have been submissions that every constituency should be represented, every actually district should be represented by one man and one woman, just to have that fairness, so that one gender does not carry the burden in the name of affirmative action. If not, can we consider the PR system where the country elects parties, so that then the parties can send their members they are considered members to parliament. This I emphasize because I know the burden that women carry as they seek those parliamentary seats. Thank you, Chairperson.
Now, the members want to respond to issues pertaining electoral reforms, but just take it as your information.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll just make an appeal to honorable colleagues that while processing this bill, it should not be perceived as a punishment to a particular political party that is now holding in Parliament, because potentially all political parties in this country, including the NRM, can hold this position. And therefore, if you are processing this bill, you should process it with all the objectivity it deserves. The main reason why we have an alternative government in Parliament is to enhance the spirit of checks and balances. And therefore, if that spirit is abused, then democracy loses its meaning. I have seen some practices, even outside the law, where the ruling party has tried to manipulate and even designate members of the opposition to some committees. I don't know if this is one way of trying to sanitize that bad practice so that they can also have that bad influence. And I see that we are moving in a wrong direction. A case in a point is the East African Legislative Assembly elections. Some opposition political parties have been technically hedged out of that process because a list is shared at State House during the NRM caucus to determine who should represent the country in Yala. And I see this vice coming also now through this bill, impliedly. So we should...
Chair, to set the record straight, that is not accurate information.
It is accurate. I've been a member of parliament here. I've seen this happening.
I participated in the previous elections, and I just wanted us to
I have participated in the election. So I'm speaking from an informed point of view. I have seen this.
Actually, what information is in contention exactly?
I don't know what is contesting.
Let us have the...
And
thank you, Chair. Chair, the list of the East African Legislative Assembly in totality is not shared in the NRM caucus. what is shared in the NRM caucus are the NRM representatives in the East African Legislative Assembly. And it is pertinent that we set that record straight. Anyway, the directive, I know where the directive comes from. Let us not bury our heads in the sand. I have been here before, and I know what I'm speaking about. Finally, I'd like to make an appeal. It's very unfortunate that this bill was proposed from our very own, one member from the DP, and seconded by a member from the current leading opposition political party, NUP. This is a very big shame. And I would, if possible, I would appeal to our colleagues, the leadership of those two political parties, to bring to book these members if they are not willing to shoot down their shameful bill to this country, because it is not remedying anything but opening another window of opportunity for the ruling party to muzzle the opposition politics in this country. I beg to move.
But calling for putting the members to order is to stifle their freedoms. Members should be free to bring up what they think, right or wrong, and then for us we decide. Yeah. There are enough to filter the wrong actions of members, individual members, but to stifle them also is not right. They should be allowed to move in whatever direction, and then we sieve. And that's why we are here. Thank you so much. So that is, you have an issue?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of Parliament, for giving us this opportunity. I have the Office of the Speaker, the Office of the Leader of Government Business in the House, and the Office of the Leader of Opposition. When you look at the Public Service Standing Orders, the two offices, that is the Office of the Speaker and Prime Minister, when they are retiring, their emoluments and benefits are clearly laid down. But when we go to the Office of the Leader of Opposition, once he's retiring, he goes with nothing. So in my own view, it is my considered opinion that maybe this committee should also look into that. That also the Office of the Leader of Opposition, which is a pinnacle within the opposition rank, be given that due consideration. I beg to submit. Thank you.
What is your comment on the service award that was awarded to?
No, that's a different case. Yeah, it's a different case.
All right, thank you. So we have heard from the FDC.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My party president, you are welcome to the Parliament of Uganda, and I am happy to be with you. When you are here with me, I feel very, very good. Commissioner, keep quiet. When you are in your caucus, that is where you will be talking.
The bill is moving in the committee. When a bill is referred to a committee like this one, we are guided by many rules, one of which is Rule 129, and the Rule 129 sub-rule 2 states that the committee shall examine the bill in detail and make all such inquiries in relation to it as the committee considers expedient or necessary to report to the House within 45 days from the date the bill is referred to the committee. Now, we had so many bills referred to the committee at the same time, and we have a requirement to process them within 45 days. So as a chairman, I just, it is within my discretion to decide which bill comes in first and then which one comes in last. So we have so many bills. We have this one, we have a constitutional amendment bill, we have two other bills. Then recently we had a marriage bill referred to this committee, and all of them within 45 days. So I decided that since this one was small, only 4 clauses, I decided that we start with it before we go into the bigger ones. That was the only consideration, nothing else. And but your concerns have been taken note of. Can I now invite the members to respond?
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The Honorable Solomon, just a minute before you proceed. He said he was born in a UPC family. That is when UPC was here. Now you joined JEMA. I'm now hearing that FDC is now in NRM. He's a man of all seasons.
Honorable Chair, the UPC, that is my father, but I was in FDC, Chair, with the Centenary. Remember, I was one of the activists that swept the road from Entebbe. About 3 questions. One, I was persuaded by the Honorable Lumu, Mr. President, that this bill is meant to help the opposition, because you are not homogeneous, you are different parties with different ideologies and different interests. So sometimes you need to have accountability for the actions of the leader of opposition as different political parties, including FDC, including other parties, even the smaller parties. And the mover of the motion really persuaded me on that too. Mr. President, you are aware that at the beginning, I think it was the 7th Parliament, when we started multi-party democracy, the Honorable Ogengala Tigo then was elected. 8th Parliament, was elected as a leader of opposition. Why did you abandon that? I think if we are moving towards a democracy, then elections are very key. Why did you abandon the issue of electing the LOP? Then, lastly, Chair, my issue is on the concern the President was suspecting the whole committee and saying that the bill is very fast. I thank you, Chair, that you have responded to that. But I also wanted to add my voice that there cannot be anything fishy in the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, because this is a committee that handles matters of the law in Parliament, and we are as objective as possible. Chair, I wanted to pose those 3 questions to my former president. And also, lastly, which FDC is this one? Because I've been told there are two. Is this the one of Katonga or the one? I just wanted to ask.
Delegation for the well-researched paper, which is quite clear to me. My first question is, the Honorable Lumu purported to be presenting this bill to help the opposition. And the FDC and many other political parties who are in the opposition are coming here, and so far, all are disagreeing with him. Did he make an attempt, before even seeking leave of Parliament, to consult the FDC? Secondly, when he was granted leave now to prepare the bill before publication, did he seek input from the FDC as a member of the opposition? And then, if he did, would it surprise you now that even when it was clear that the members of the opposition in Uganda, as currently constituted, are against this bill, he still goes ahead to push for it? The second question is, in my understanding, this whole fight is about the lucrative benefits attached to the current leadership of the opposition in Parliament, which is about resources. In my thinking, and I wanted to get your opinion, if Parliament decides that the party with the leading majority members appoints or designates the LOP, and also facilitates the LOP to carry that duty without the involvement of the Parliament and our current setup in Parliamentary Commission, where they first study the demeanor of the leader of the opposition and then decide on which resources to allocate to that office. If you are not loyal, or you are perceived to be challenging the status quo, then a spanner is brought to turn the flow of fuel so that the engine combustion is a bit problematic. So would it please you, in the reforms and in the suggestion, that since political parties already receive financing through the iPod mechanism, then the party designating the leader of the opposition also now facilitates it, so that parliament is not sucked into this kind of conflict between loyalty of the LOP to the powers that are here. I think those are...
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to thank UP. We are new in the opposition, but FDC has been here for years with five leaders of opposition brought by them. So I think the whole information is of a vital use to this committee. I will take myself to page 4. which says that the Lumu bill has sparked concern that the ruling NRM party could exploit it to impeach a strong opposition leader and the rest. And that can be shown through Honorable Sirwanyi's presentation. No, I'm still going on. Yeah, I'm still going on. That's actually shown through my brother Honorable Sirwanyi's presentation. So I want to ask you, I will explain later. I want to ask the president of FDC, because this information is very vital and crucial for this committee. Do you have any other information you feel you have left out that you haven't put here that you would like to bring out on this bill? Thank you very much.
And the content delivered by the party president, you would feel the emotion and passion in what the presentation seeks to bring out. But the Honorable Centenary has made a very pertinent issue where the bill is presented by Honorable Lumu, a member of the Democratic Party, seconded by Honorable Kakembo, a member of the National Unity Platform. And there seems to be a democratic approach to sucking NRM into the mix of the bill. Could this be that there is suffocation within the opposition parties in different fora, that they feel internally they should even run away and seek refuge with NRM? I find it defeatism and beating objectivity if from the onset we interrogate the bill from a perspective that there is external influence, and yet these are, in my opinion, reputable members of parliament representing their constituencies, some not even first time or second timers. So I beg your indulgence in the clarification of this matter. Thank you.
The Law Development Center. The Alliance for National Transformation appeared before this committee this morning and disagreed with Lumu's position. Uganda People's Congress, as before you came in, appeared before this committee and disagreed with the Lumu's position. Now the FDC is here and asking that the status quo is maintained. Mr. Party President, in your wisdom, in whose interest do you think Lumu is working? Thank you very much.
Most of the issues have been raised by colleagues. And Mr. President of FDC, we thank you so much. And I think with that advantage we have enjoyed, because you have your team as experienced leaders and with regards to legislation. So I just wish Chair and colleagues to take our emphasis on the recommendation of the FDC party.
Don't you want to say something now that your president is here?
honorable member being persuaded, and I think it is my friend Solomon, my former member, who decided to seek greener pastures in NRM. It is true that
after sweeping the road from Entebbe to Kampala,
it's true that we are not homogeneous as parties in the opposition. By our very missions, what we stand for, our ideology, the FDC center-right ideology. I don't know what ideology NUP, for example, espouses. And so we really can't be the same. You also got to recognize the fact that we compete. Place a candidate against a JEMA candidate, against a NUP candidate, and other political organizations. So we can't be the same. And therefore, the reason why you have got to have a head somewhere in Parliament, try to bring those interests together. And I'm sure that you know that the leader of opposition in the House does not operate by himself. The leader of opposition has got structures. He has a team, or she has a team to work with. There are meetings that they hold, meetings of the opposition caucus, and I know that they do hold them, And by the way, the different whips also input in certain things that happen in that office. The whips come back to the parties to report. By the way, our whip always presents to the working committee, which is top management, a report of what transpires in Parliament. And so the role of the leader of opposition is to create that homogeneity so that these members move as a unit. So it's not only about the election, and it stops there. You seem to suggest that something would change if the election was done by all the parties, opposition parties in Parliament. And we have discounted that in our report with very, very strong reasons. So our feeling is that we have a lot to benefit as the opposition with the law in its present form than to benefit after the law is amended. On the election of Ogenga Latigo, remember that Ogenga Latigo was the first post-referendum leader of the opposition. And as the FDC, we found ourselves as the official political party in the opposition. And so we tried out a direct election. The Electoral College being the National Executive Committee of the party. What arose from that election was disharmony within the party. There was underlying problems associated with that election. There was acrimony, there was anger. And especially, I would even talk about the position of a commissioner that was also subjected to an election. And this affected us on the ground. 2 members of parliament coming from one district fighting, locking horns. One claiming the other had taken his position. So that was not a pleasant experience for us. And so management in its wisdom said, I think the next time we will just have a small team. Don't cause these people to go to an election campaign, spend money during the campaigns, you see, because it backfired on us. In fact, it caused us trouble in the election of 2011. And we don't want to repeat that. And I would advise our colleagues in the opposition, those who might be get to the position of the official position, not to tour that path. So what happens today, or what happened with the case of the Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi and those who came after him? There was consensus building within the party. While looking at seniority, and also guided by our constitution, where the Electoral Commission vets, which is a form of, a precursor to an election. And once the leaders are vetted, and there is only one that is outstanding, then that one is deemed to have been elected. It's a form of election. Make no mistake about that. It is a form of an election. And that we put in place the right people using the right procedure, even if a vote was not cast. On suspecting the whole committee, I think I have qualified that, Mr. Chairman, and this is not to disrespect you, sir, that this would look like a matter of life and death, the way it is being handled. That if this bill is not passed, the roof will collapse on this country. And I don't think that is true. And I want to answer this together with a concern about whether Lumu actually came to us. We are the consumers of this law. We are the players. We're in the theater of politics. We are the biggest stakeholders. It's not somebody we know who is directly affected by this. And so we've got to have a say. And this is why we think you must listen to us. The Honorable Lumu attempted to come to us after he drafted his bill. And he ostensibly to seek information from us. And we said, no, at the conception of this bill, we should have been part of this. We should have been part of the conversation. It never happened. And so the FDC felt like Lumu wanted to use us, and yet, there are clever people in the FDC who knew they would come here to the committee and present their views. It wasn't our duty to help Lumu, Honorable Lumu, to write his bill up. It wasn't. We were not about to be part or conscripted into doing this dirty work by a honorable member of parliament who is serving selfish interests. On whom we are, which FDC we are, I know that is a tongue in the cheek by my friend, Commissioner Serwanyi. But just to clear the air to you, honorable members, we are the FDC. We have got an elected leadership that was elected on the 6th of October last year in a national delegates conference that was properly convened. We have control over all the facets of the political organization that I lead. I am president, by the way. I didn't introduce myself as such. Properly elected. And I am glad that the clerk, while communicating to us, wrote to the Secretary General of the FDC, not to a faction of the FDC. And I want to warn you, the media. Let me also take this opportunity to caution you to be responsible in your reporting. There is no faction in the FDC called Katonga. The official seal of the party is held in Najanankumbi on plot 1164 Entebbe Road. All communications out of FDC are made by the Right Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi James, the Secretary General of the FDC. The signature of Nandala and that of Ekanya are recognized in all the banks where we hold accounts. So our friends sitting in Katonga are imposters. I want to repeat that. I do understand that they have formed a new party called the PFF, and we can only wish them well. We are firmly in charge of the FDC, and would be happy that you continue communicating to us as such. We also sponsor candidates under our seal and the signature of the Secretary General. I have never seen anybody from that group that is disenchanted doing that. And these are normal political differences that all of us experience. The good thing about the FDC, we have mastered the art of stabilizing our party when we have turmoil within the party. The Honorable Du, you are right to say that, and forgive me for referring to you as Honorable, or which one. Well, I think he really purported. The Honorable Lumu does not represent the FDC that I speak for. His views were not, that are contained in the bill, were not solicited from the FDC. And so, you know, he didn't come before he conceived this idea, and he attempted to come after drafting his bill. And as I said, I think he was on full flight. Nothing would have stopped him because he serves other interests and other interests of the FDC. And I am glad that the Honorable Obualu has weighed on this when he related to us what happened before we came to this committee. The players in this theater, in this playing ground, the ones that he purportedly, you know, represents, or he purports to represent, do not know him. We don't recognize him. He doesn't speak for us. And that is why I thought the committee needs to listen to us very carefully on this. Fight about lucrative positions. I think this should not be there. The creation of the position of leader of opposition is contained in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. And any resources that go to that office should not be seen as a favor. Nobody should use carrot and stick against the holder of that position. What precisely this bill now wants to introduce to our democracy. That you speak nicely with the power that be, and then okay, you can have the trips, you can have the money to spend, your fuel card is guaranteed, you can get employment for your relatives in the house, in the parliamentary commission. Everything is being dangled there.
Clarification, parliamentary commission, what?
No, I said, yeah, I think you need to be awake, Honorable Member of Parliament, as we speak. This position is not a favor. It's a creature of the Constitution. And nobody should indulge in arm twisting the holder of that position. It is an office, it's an institution that was given birth by the Constitution, the amended Constitution that we amended in 2005. So how I wish that this independence is maintained And the Honorable Du brings a very, very important point, that this office should not be under the direction of any office in Parliament. Warid talked about the pillars within this Parliament, and he articulated very well. So what we are crying for is the independence of this office. That the person holding the position should not be looking over his or her shoulder.
Correct.
To see who is coming after him.
The question is, wouldn't it even be independent if we tagged the facilities to that office to the party with the largest strength?
Well, I think
appropriate for that party.
The subvention
clearly brought by opposition MPs.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to answer one question. I think it is the Honorable Wechitibwa who asked that is in whose interest is this bill. It was
Wechitibwa who?
Oh.
Wechitibwa do.
I think the
I'm happy to see me, you people.
How do you know? Triple A.
None of you even spoken that.
Yes, the way you marginalize men in this party. Young man, you marginalizing men in this party.
Actually, a woman just stepped down.
The Bible says 7 women to 1 man. So,
the lady just called to say, I'm not coming.
I'm calling the meeting order. I'm calling the meeting order.
My name is Alaso Shanich. I am the acting national coordinator.
for the alliance with the Secretary General. But we don't have a Secretary General. We are a party, political party, founded in growth and development. That's what this comes from. Part of my team is about to enter here, but I'll ask the ones that are already in the committee, national level for FDC. Thank you.
My name is Gwe Nelson, the National Youth League Coordinator, Alliance for National Transformation.
Woman leader from Alliance for National Transformation.
Thank you, Chair. My name is
and I'm Stephen Baka Mugabe. I represent Bukoli County North, Chairperson. Honorable members of the committee, honorable officials from the ANT, the staff of Parliament, of the committee, and the Fourth Estate. I wish to welcome you to this meeting, and straight away start with apologizing to the members who have stayed here for an hour waiting for the meeting to commence. It was not because of the delay of ANT are on time, but we had an apology coming in from Uganda Law Society, who were supposed to be here at 10. The president got an emergency a few minutes to the meeting, and apologies were sent to that effect. So I want to thank you for keeping here for all this time to wait for ANT. As we are aware, we are considering the Administration of Parliament Amendment Bill 2024. And today is likely to be a long day because we have all the parties coming today. And then tomorrow, I will also request the members to be present such that we receive more stakeholder submissions from more stakeholders coming in tomorrow. It's our hope that by next week we should be concluding on this bill. We also have apologies from the Attorney General and the Uganda Law Reform Commission, who are supposed to be here at this time. The Attorney General insists that he will not send a written submission, but he will come. So we are thinking of either putting him tomorrow or Monday. We'll communicate to you, but he insists he will come himself. But Law Society will get a submission, a written submission, and it will be supplied to you on the forum. With those few remarks, I wish to welcome Alliance for National Transformation to this meeting. We thank you for responding to our invitation to come and make an input to this bill. It is our hope that your submission will enrich the bill, but also help us in scrutinizing it for the betterment of the administration of Parliament. With those few remarks, I wish to invite you, or probably before inviting, if there is any reaction to the chairman's communication, I invite you to make a small reaction before we proceed. Thank you very much. There being no reactions to my communication, I invite the coordinator, national coordinator of Alliance for National Transformation to take the floor and take us through their submission. But I will request you to sign a copy on all the pages of one copy and submit, because this one is not signed, just to
Now sign that to everyone.
and the cup of tea is available to all of us. Kindly partake of it. You are welcome, Mr. President of ANT. I don't know whether that's the right you.
But it works.
National coordinator. Okay, I will invite you to introduce yourself before she takes the stage.
We already done with our CV.
Let me first apologize. When I told a little bit late that we were supposed to appear at around 11, and therefore my sincere apologies. My name's Mugisha Muntu Gregory. I'm part of the leadership team of Alliance for National Transformation, and we sought to appear before this committee, and gladly we were accepted. So we've come with our team leader, and she'll be able to present our views on this matter. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Sit.
Thank you very much, Chair, and inviting us here. My team has already been introduced, and we've already told you who we are. So I'll go straight away into highlights of this written presentation. Room will be created for some interventions by members of the team of the Alliance for National Transformation. We have come here to present our views on the present amendments to the Administration of Parliament Act, also called the Lumu Bill. And we understood that the object of the bill is to provide for the election of the leader of the opposition, how he or she ceases to hold office, and also the approval of the shadow cabinet ministers and appointment of chairs and deputy chairpersons of standing committees. We may not address everything in the bill, but we will address areas that we have picked great interest in. And it is claimed that the bill is intended to cure certain defects in the present position in the law, that the law is silent in the composition of the electoral college that elects the LOP, that the party with the highest numerical strength simply imposes the LOP on other members of the opposition without their will, consent, or even participation, that the current manner of electing the LOP has led to the suppression of the views of the other political parties, and as a result of that, the members of the opposition in Parliament cannot hold the leader of opposition accountable. It is claimed that because of these defects, there is need to amend the law to provide for to address these issues. And we come on the basis, the background of our submission is that the Constitution was amended to provide that under the multi-organization or multi-party form of a democracy, I want you to note that we are emphatic about this, there shall be in Parliament a leader of the opposition. And Parliament was directed to make a law on how the LOP is chosen and how she ceases to hold office. The 7th Parliament, in its wisdom, provided an amendment to the Administration of Parliament Act, CAPS 272. The leader of opposition shall be elected by the party in opposition to government having the greatest numerical strength. We have made some emphasis there again, that Parliament further provided for the LOP to cease to hold office if he or she is removed by the party that elected him or her. And in enacting these provisions, the 8th Parliament was guided by the phrase in the Constitution, multi-party form of democracy, in Article 82A of the Constitution. Multi-party forms of democracy have existed before, and it also continues to shape as we go along over centuries. Now we note that conventions have hitherto guided the election of leaders of opposition, and conventions in this case simply refer to informal and uncodified traditions that is followed by institutions of state. The leader of opposition by convention is a leader of the largest political party that is not in government, the party with the second highest numerical strength in the House. This convention is followed in the UK, Canada, and other countries, and also in the Commonwealth parliamentary traditions. Indeed, it is by this well-established convention or tradition that even here in Uganda, the Democratic Party elected Ben Kiwanuka and Paul Semugerere as leaders of opposition in 1962 and 1980. The emphasis is that this has been practiced before. It also worked well in the election of Professor Latigo Ogenga Honorable as leader of the opposition in 2006, Winnie Kiza, the Honorable Betty Awol, and I think that even in the 11th Parliament, this tradition is what was applied to elect the two leaders of the opposition that have participated. The bill now claims that this convention adopted by the 7th Parliament 20 years ago is a defect. We submit that this is not. It is not a defect. It doesn't have defects, and it is not the problem. On the contrary, what is being proposed is a defect to multi-partyism and a recipe for instability. The process did not only work for Uganda in the 1960s and 80s. It has worked for Uganda for the last 20 years when we returned to multi-party organizing. Bills and motions have been considered and enacted into law. Petitions have been processed in the House, and nothing has proven that their processing has been hindered by the way the LOPs have been elected or chosen to run the House. So we are actually wondering, why would anybody try to fix what is not broken? In our view, it is not broken. The convention is working. The tradition is okay. Why would anybody be trying to fix what is not broken? Who says, as we ask that question, we are saying, who says that because there is no electoral college to elect the LOP, there is actually a defect in law? There are many offices and office bearers who are elected without an electoral college. That does not mean it is a defect. It simply means that there is an alternative mechanism which the relevant institutions use for electing the leader of the opposition. And we know that political parties have their internal mechanisms in which they exercise internal democracy and they arrive at a leader of the opposition. So we don't need, that's actually an electoral college on its own. The process is within the party. If the party in government designates the chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of sectoral committees of parliament without an electoral commission, electoral college, or a known electoral college, so to say, why should the official opposition be required to do so? Which electoral college, for instance, we would like to find out, elects the prime minister who heads government business? There is a mechanism in there with which the prime minister is arrived at, and it is respected. Process is followed, and we think that this argument for the electoral college, specifically for the LOP, is problematic. Two, we think that it is reverse thinking to argue that the party with the highest numerical strength imposes the LOP on other members of the opposition. Each political party in parliament has its leadership, unless this has changed. But the LOP, for us, in our understanding, is a national office provided for in the constitution of the land. It is an office for the whole of Uganda. It is not simply leading the political parties that are in the House. How can one argue that a constitutional office be limited to a few Ugandans? Each political party has its agenda, and its leadership pursues that agenda on its behalf. The bill seeks, actually, now in our view, to impose the LOP on all the other political parties, and we think also that is not what should be done. That is why the rules of procedure have taken due care to allow each political party that gets into the House to choose its own whip, and with their own whip, they are able to pursue the separate, the independent agenda of their political parties, even outside the ambit of the leader of the the leader of the opposition. We find it very absurd that to argue that how the law is chosen has led to the separation of views of political parties. As far as we understand Parliament, there is nothing like collective responsibility in Parliament. Again, unless the dynamics have changed recently. But we know that every member of Parliament has an opportunity to present their views, to stand on the floor, to submit, and the Speaker decides who will talk and who will not talk, who will not submit. So, and when you refer to all the rules, because history is important, of the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, and now even the 11th Parliament, on petitions, bills, and motions, this position has not changed. So anybody who wants to submit can actually submit without necessarily thinking or alleging that the office of the leader of the opposition is the one suppressing their participation. D, why would anyone think that the LOP is accountable or answerable to all other political parties? All members of Parliament, the LOP inclusive, and the Parliament of Uganda as an institution is accountable to Uganda in its legislative, representative, and oversight roles. And that is what we know. There is no law or practice that makes the LOP accountable to all other political parties, save he, she does so in terms of basic consultations, courtesies, and jointly agreed activities in the House. Otherwise, everybody is responsible to send them into the House. So we find that argument also faulty. The election of a leader of opposition by another group other than the political party with the highest numerical strength ultimately weakens the party. I mean the party with the highest, the second highest numerical strength, in the sense that even if they have to submit these 3 names, and then there is a group created in this House, that group exercises veto authority over the political party. We understand that this is problematic. The political party with the highest numerical strength must be the one to submit to this House the leader, the name of the leader of the opposition. Looked at the definition, what the proposed amendment seeks to do, and to redefine the leader of the opposition as the member who is the leader of Parliament of all the opposition parties. Now we think that that is crazy. Leader of all the political parties. Where will the political parties even agree to that? If they cannot even agree to one common electoral platform, how can you want to impose on FDC, on NOP, on ANT, on all those, you want to impose a leader over all of them? We think that definition is not acceptable, and it's not tenable practically as far as the management of political parties out there obtains. There is a big difference between the official opposition and the opposition in Parliament. The proposals in this amendment, in this bill, seek to abolish the official opposition in Parliament. And that is unacceptable. The basis of our parliamentary democracy is that there is a ruling party that forms government, and then there is an official opposition which has clear roles. The second largest party in terms of numerical strength in the official is the official opposition. Chairperson, I'd like to remind the committee that there has been a practice, I hope it's still the one, that even the assigning of committee membership is based on numerical strength. If we tamper with this because of the leader of the opposition, do we seek to tamper with it also as we assign membership to committees in this House? Because we need to set a standard that runs across parliamentary practices. In terms of ideology, vision, and party platforms, I've already alluded to that. Each of the political parties out there has its own ideology. We do not want to see a situation where the law is now imposed to preside over the ideology of all those small parties that are that are not the second highest in numerical strength. Some time ago, I bring history to bear here. Some time ago, we had a situation where the official opposition was the FDC. And then the DPC and the UPC found a way in which they were able to negotiate with the ruling NRM, and they were able to send representatives to the East African Legislative Assembly. The official opposition actually lost when they submitted names. They didn't have. So it is not possible to impose these on the ideologies of the party. The UPC will do what it wants in the House. The DP will do, and the other political parties will also do. And that is a position we think is healthy, so that parties exercise the freedom as they deem fit. Now, there is something we want to emphasize. Small opposition. If the bill is carried, if it is enacted into law, we seem to sense that the intention is to make small opposition parties, the smaller ones, to become the official opposition. And this is how it is going to work. If the total number of all the other small parties put together becomes greater than the number of the official opposition party, that means, one, they will be the ones to determine the law. It can no longer be the official opposition party, because some total of all the other smaller ones may be bigger than 57 or something. I don't know what NUP has. And that means you've taken away the power from NUP, let alone saying that you may actually, by extension, be handing some of the power to the NRM, because some of the political parties in the opposition are also in close relationship with the NRM. So you can imagine, you'll just distort this whole thing. Under clause 3C, any day they wake up, they will decide to remove the law. Because you've given them power. He who decides, who appoints, will also be the one to remove. And that can be a recipe for instability in the already weak, in the already, difficult political terrain that we are in. You can imagine that now you remove the law appointed by political party X, and then they begin to look at, it is that other small party that moved a motion or whatever, an activity initiated the process of removing our law. You don't want that disharmony in the political arena. More importantly, it undermines the essence and the principle of numerical strength. We submit to this committee that any political party that wants to be the second highest or the highest in numerical strength should actually go and get that mandate from the voters. You don't come here and you think you're going to get it by the law or get it by an amendment. If you got 10 MPs, stay with the 10. Don't try to act like you got 57 or you got 200 or something like that. We think that you are creating another front which undermines numerical strength, which is a resident in the hands of the voters in Uganda. The argument about a tie in numerical strength is something that has never happened. But we propose that in the event that it happens, as we swear in, and it happens, and the House, the Speaker notices there are 24 and 24, all you need to do is to amend the rules of procedure to create a provision where one takes leadership of the opposition for 2.5 years, and another one also takes the leadership of the opposition for 2.5 years. They share that term. Our emphasis is that you don't need to amend the Parliamentary Administration Act. You only need to amend the rules of procedure to take care of a tie in the unlikely event that it happens. The question of human rights, and we are emphasizing that association really is by choice, and we don't want to force the freedom, the political parties, whether they have 1 member or whether they have 100 members. We don't want to force them to work together on this matter. In any case, if the 1 member of a political party had wanted to be the one determining the affairs of the other political party, they would have carried the flag of that political party. But they didn't. So why would we enact a piece of legislation that coerces the 1 member of the PP to work with the 57 of NUP? We find that problematic, and we think that if people, members of parliament, and even political parties should choose whether to associate or not to associate, but not by a piece of legislation. And this is a prohibition that also the House rules and the Constitution have taken care of. And we believe that if this bill is enacted in its present state, it is open to constitutional challenge. I want to address the issue of hypocrisy, because we've read into the bill and we sense that there are aspects that border on hypocrisy. The members of parliament that serve in standing committees, in sectoral committees, and also backbench members are designated by their political parties, individual political parties. So why would one peddle a standard which is contrary to the one that is practiced already in designating backbench commissioners and also designating committees? And even without emphasizing on designation of deputy chairpersons and chairpersons of standing committee, I think this will suffice to address the fact that we would like the status quo to be maintained. In conclusion, Uganda has had this tendency, maybe this is the first conclusion, to experiment whenever they establish doctrines, banning political parties, creating umbrellas, completely banning them. And now we are, after 1986, the one-party system, and now we came to 2005 and we opened up political space. We have a province history, by the way, a member and your team here, honorable members. This country has a proven history of being very hostile to political parties. Yes, and that hostility, if we don't stem it, also comes into legislation, just to make sure that political parties do not grow. And that's dangerous for our democracy as a country. In terms of the priorities of the political opposition, we want to draw the attention of this House that our joy as the political opposition in Uganda, in terms of priorities, it wouldn't be to reduce further the space that we have in this parliament, which this bill seeks to do. We have issues that we have knocked on the doors of parliament for years, and that have to do with broadening the political space by creating an enabling environment of free, fair, credible, verifiable elections through electoral reforms. That's what we are looking for out there. We are not looking for another law to create a fight among the small parties that are dominated by the ruling NRM in a space called parliament. We are not looking for another law. And so if the proponent, if Honorable Lumu meant well to the opposition, deepening or expanding democracy for this country would simply have required him to come to his own committee with a proposal on electoral reforms that have been here. I don't know, some of us used to be here. There were attempts to bring those proposals. and they have never seen the light of the day. We would be happy that Honorable Lumu uses his leverage to address the priorities of the political opposition. Moreover, we are impressed that the proponent of this bill could expressly get a clearance of financial implications within a few days. There are members of your committee can bear witness. When I moved the miscellaneous amendment to the penal code, I took 3 years without getting the certificate of financial implications. But doing everything, moving from this office to the other, even the speaker calling finance to order, but it took us 3 years. I'm happy that the Honorable Lumu now can get it in a few weeks. I wish he could get it for us for electoral reforms, because I even left Parliament and I passed the bill to the Honorable Medad Segona. I think he also finished another 2 years before he processed it. So this is a significant progress on your part, but we appeal to Honorable Lumu to use his prowess in convincing the executive to help us with amendments to electoral-related laws. Our advice is, rather than have even the little we have being taken away by this bill, Honorable Chair, we pray that no law should ever be passed in this House, enacted, which is seen to have eyes. Our perception out there is that this law, this proposed bill, seems to have eyes, and we also don't want laws that are trivialized to settle scores. It damages the reputation of the House. 2, we sense that many stakeholders and political parties do not support the proposed amendment. We've followed the discourse on the media, and therefore we conclude that if this is enacted, it is counterproductive to the spirit of the 2005 referendum and the multi-party organizing. We believe that it will lead to slow and eventual erosion of the democratic space. The little that we have will also be eaten up by these amendments. We strongly feel that democratic order and stability is threatened when influential people do everything within their power to weaken the smaller ones. And that is what this bill seeks to do. Chair, we conclude by making a prayer to this committee. And it is that we oppose this bill completely in its entirety. And we simply request this committee to recommend to the House that this bill does not go to second reading. That is the only prayer that we are making, because we understand from history that if this bill found its way into second reading and use the parliamentary practices of voting, a law will be imposed on us that is totally not helpful to the political opposition, but also to the democratic growth in this country. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, National Coordinator, Honorable Alice Alaso. Either help you in responses, or you want them to make a statement now. But then that means you'll have to do the responses yourself alone. So I now invite colleagues to weigh in by way of clarifications, questions, or any other matter relating to the document.
What appears to me to be a very good, precise and concise submission that is quite clear to me. I have 2 points of clarification. The first one is to ask whether the Honorable Lumu, who moved this bill, consulted ANT prior to moving the motion for leave. And if he didn't consult prior, did he consult after obtaining leave? And if he consulted you after, what did you tell him about the bill? 2, we are scheduled to meet some political parties, not all political parties registered. I can put on record that I am aware ANT is here. We shall have FDC, UPC, DP, NRM, and JEMA. I'm also aware that we have more than 40 registered political parties. What is your opinion on the restriction of the consultative process? Because any of those political parties outside, for example, ANT is not represented in Parliament at the moment, but in the next election, you never know, ANT may be the party with the leader. Do you think it is important for this committee to interact and get the views of all the official registered political parties, or just pick, let me use the big 7 in the circumstance? Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the Honorable Ali. I want to know your opinion. Do you feel your party as ANT and your opinion as a party and all your issues are well catered for in the current situation where we have a leader of opposition from one big party with the highest numerical strength? Then you also talk about the intention of the bill being it that to make small parties become the official opposition party. When we go by voting, how would this happen when you are aware that the more numerical strength you have, the more votes definitely that party in opposition has? So how will a party, for example, the Justice Forum with 1 member, win such a position when they have only 1 member? Then also you talk about some opposition members and some parties, some small parties that are in close collaboration with the National Resistance Movement. Do you want to tell this committee some examples? Because it would be important in our report if we knew those opposition parties that are already working with the National Resistance Movement. It would be important for us as a committee to get this. Then Chair, I also want to ask the mischief that the President, the National Coordinator of ANT has about the certificate of financial implication. I thought this would be something positive, that Lumu actually managed to get it very fast, and all people should, when you come up with a bill, they should give you the certificate so fast, and there should not be, no, she said it, but in quotes, she was wondering why it was so fast. I think this should be the practice. Any bill, there must be a certificate of financial implication in at least days and a short time, and then we move. I think this is a plus to the opposition. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy Chair.
For Ali Salaso.
Introduce yourself as well.
For her insightful presentation, especially in as far as it tries to allude strongly to the historical perspective of the politics of this country and the current trend. My name is John Taylor. I am the Deputy Chairperson, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. He had assigned me for another responsibility out of this room. That's why I kept away for some time. You do mention that...
excuse me, Deputy, just as you fine-tune your presentation, I want to request the other colleagues who came in late to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and colleague members and our guests. Robert Sekitoleko is my name. I'm a member of Parliament, and I sit on the left hand of the Speaker.
Honorable Achia, Achi.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's a good afternoon, everyone. Achia Juliet Lodo is my name, Member of Parliament for Ngora County, and a member of this committee.
By another official from ANT, can I request you to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair. My apologies. I had initially known we were meeting at midday. My name is Gerald Karhaga of Ntungamo District. I used to be a member here. Nation.
Thank you. We shared this committee, I think, 9th Parliament?
Yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So, Honorable Alice, you rift, especially in the leadership, that has culminated into the parliamentary affairs quite consistently. Would I not be right to look at that in the perspective of a broken situation that needs to be fixed in as far as the slow attempt to? Thank you.
You have an issue, Honorable Secretary? No, the ANT has the stakeholder. The question has.
What is that, perhaps?
Okay, can I have Honorable Sego now?
First, because I have brought a similar law before, and I want to declare that position. I have my reasons. I will not state them here. I did state them before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee back then. Listening to the Honorable, first of all, to say hi to my old friends. Listening to the Honorable Alice Avaso talk about membership to committees. The convention and practice here is that members of the opposition are designated to committees by the chief opposition whip, not the individual party whips. There could be participation by the party whips, but officially on the floor, these are designated by the official opposition whip. Would you equally find a problem with that, since these members may not necessarily subscribe to the party with the numerical strength, the largest numerical strength in the opposition? The second is away from the bill. Speaking as a person who has been at this for some time, do you find any reason to meet at a forum of political parties and see if you can resolve some of the issues which, from your suspicion, seems to be a precipitant for this kind of bill, outside in a forum, to say, are there issues that we need to resolve? Because I think unity in the opposition is very, very key if we are to make the kind of progress that you want us to make. Thank you.
Let me also weigh in on page where you talk about now that NRM does not elect their leaders. And you quoted the chairpersons and deputy chairpersons. I think even the commissioners, even the lead of government business, they are just designated through a system that is internal within NRM. So I wanted to know that if you think, because NRM does not do elections, whether that is really the best. Because what I know is that in NRM, as we talk, there are calls within the party to have, for example, commissioners elected. It has come up severally. The members calling for election of commissioners and even chairpersons of committees. They quote, I think during the 6th Parliament, when you were a member of the 6th Parliament? 7th, I think. But I think even during the 7th, you used to elect chairpersons of committees. They changed. So there is, those voices are there, that now members want to take charge of their own matters, for example, the commissioners, the chairpersons. So wouldn't it be a good move if we started with a system where members, opposition, NRM, have a say in matters that concern them? Whereas you have said this is a position that is national, but still it is opposition, official position in Parliament. Instead of, for example, having all the parties in opposition electing, would you, for example, prefer where a system where the official position in Parliament, for example, elect, they become the electoral college, for example, NUP? Because the issue here is there should be some election where members take charge of their matters, other than the headquarter announcing. We don't know what happens at the headquarters. They just announce and say Baka is the chairperson of the Committee on Legal. What do you think about that? Such that the argument here is not that because NRM is not electing, therefore we cannot also elect. It is hypocrisy. Can't we start from here with elections in the opposition and probably grow to even take it to the government side? Yes.
And Chair, the small addition I wanted to make to bring into the attention of ANT. When you look at NRM, it is one ideologies, different objectives. So bringing them together, I think it is something that where you should have like a meeting, then choose a person who will lead you. This is something I think that is very important, because comparing to NRM that is a one party, that is yellow, homogeneous, everything you say, we move, we are just one party. But you find ANT, FDC, GEMA, the several parties with different beliefs, but they are all represented in the Parliament. So for you to just get a person from that one party, yet still even elected, and instead say designated at this time. And then two, I would ask this question to you generally. Would one of you address us on the ideological reasoning behind the leader of opposition, generally? I know you have tried to touch it, but just that concept. Who is the leader of the opposition using the international best practices? You have cited the UK and the rest, but what is the ideology, what is the thinking, the rationale behind the position of the leader of the opposition?
We adopt the Kenyan system. There is a stakeholder who came and said, we should not waste the time, let's just adopt the Kenyan system. Because the leader of the opposition even gives a wrong perception in the public, leader of the opposition in Parliament. The public tends to think that the leader of the opposition in Parliament is actually the leader of the opposition in the entire country. In Kenya, it is very clear there is a minority leader, and it is restricted to Parliament. And there is a majority leader, strictly Parliament. Would you also think that is a better way to go?
Thank you. Oh, okay. Seem to be so many questions, but thank you. Try to run through some of them, and my colleagues will handle what I leave out here. I personally contacted, on behalf of the organization, we contacted Honorable Lumu. We heard from the media he was moving on some bill which we thought was significant. We contacted him on phone, and he said he would come. We set up a date and he never came, and he hasn't come up to today. And we then had to, when we heard that you people were doing hearings, we also had to contact Parliament, the clerk, and subsequently the chair and said, yeah, it's okay, we will give you an invitation to come. So I hope that answers it. We've not interacted with Honorable Lumu despite our very best efforts to have an opportunity to interact with him. When you ask about the other political parties, I think it should be good parliamentary practice and really the behavior of committees to look out for stakeholders. On every matter that appears before Parliament, there are serious stakeholders out there. It may not be only the parties that are represented. Today they are represented, tomorrow they may not be represented, I don't know. But I think it is okay. Political parties in Uganda have an umbrella organization under the Electoral Commission. If you don't know their addresses, you can contact the Electoral Commission. They can get information to them under the National Consultative Forum, and then those that have interest in the matter can come. And so I think that it's good to be open to stakeholder engagement every time you have a matter before your committee. Honorable Solomon, all our issues catered for under the LOP now. I don't think we even intend to have all our issues catered for under the LOP. Really, that's not the intention of ANT, and there are very few issues, if any, that we will be taking to the LOP. The issues we have concern the Parliament of Uganda, and we know how to enter this Parliament. We are here without even consulting the LOP. We know as stakeholders out there, you call the clerk's office. If you have other methods, you can consult the chair. You will enter this Parliament, and if the Parliament wants to address your issues, they will address your issues. So, sum total, if we have, my emphasis was that if you get all those other political parties other than the official opposition, and collectively they raise a number of members of Parliament that is higher than the number of the official opposition, then they begin to veto the activities of the official opposition if they team together. And that renders the notion of the official opposition, invalid. That is what we are thinking. Yeah. Which parties? Honorable Solomon, how can you ask me that question when you know who you work with? You know who you work with, you know who has an MOU, you know all these things, really.
I think
and I don't want to be diverted.
He wanted those parties to be exposed, but they are not.
He's a beneficiary of the relationship, so how can he be asking me? So I don't want to go in there. You're a beneficiary of this, and parties are going to show up here. They will disclose their interests. Mischief. I really commended the prowess of the Honorable Lumu in getting a certificate of financial implication within such a short time. And I appealed to it, saying, since we have had issues pending before Parliament for years, can Honorable Lumu use his contacts for things that are more important to the political opposition than even trying to contain one little office called the LOP? That is what we are asking for. We are not saying he did bad, he did very well. Can he use that expertise to help us move the electoral reforms that we need in this country? Deputy Chair, why fix what is not broken? Yeah, that's what I said. My understanding, and really for purposes of emphasis, I hope that in processing this bill, the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs also looks at the existence of a law in this country that governs, that regulates the operations of political parties. The Political Parties Organizations Act is the framework in which we do everything about organizing as political parties out there. And therefore, that law provides that political parties will, do their, run their activities in a way based on their own regulations, which they enact for themselves. And you, the lawyers here, will help me. I think even political parties can be taken to court if they run away from regulations that they have duly enacted using party processes. The risk you have in trying to cure if there is any brokenness in any political party out there, the risk you have is that if you use the law now, you make a law today to cure what is not working in one political party, you will need to make another law, Chair, to cure another problem in another political party. So you begin to micromanage political parties using laws enacted by Parliament, and that is not tenable. It cannot work, it is not sustainable. So allow political parties to develop basing on their own aspirations, basing on their own work methods and the structures and the constitutions that they have adopted unto themselves. Allow political parties to roll into play the various mechanisms in which they will make decisions. For me, I think it would not be helpful for Parliament to try to micromanage the way political parties run their affairs. Honorable Medad Seguna, I am aware, again from experience, I don't know whether this has changed, that political parties are contacted by the opposition chief whip. We've had the privilege of managing the political opposition, the official opposition, some of us in this side of the story, for some time. What used to be is that the chief opposition whip acts more like a coordinator for those nominations. But every political party is contacted, their whip and even their leader. They submit the names, which are subsequently presented to the House by the opposition chief whip. But it is not the opposition chief whip who goes pointing and saying, you, I want you here, you, I want you here. And if that happens again, the opposition chief whip will be trying to do too much. The chairperson, I have talked about systems in the party. I hope that responds to it. But I mentioned NRM, but I'm also very happy with the submission of Honorable Solomon. If NRM, which is more uniform, you say it is uniform, of course we know NRM is something else internally also. It is not uniform inside there. But at least out here you are all yellow, they put on yellow. If NRM, which is seemingly more uniform, is having issues, but can at least present a united front at designating their chairpersons, how do you expect blue, red, purple, pink, all those political parties to be brought under the umbrella of the law to make that decision? How do you expect, if even NRM, you people are trying to run away from it? I mean, your question answers to really what I have been proposing here. You are finding it hard inside the Yellow Party. How much more? You bring me with a different ideology. You bring the other with different practices. That would be completely difficult. So thank you for helping make my argument even better. The issue of the minority or the leader of the opposition is something that will require, I don't think it is going to be addressed by this bill. You will need Article, I think, 82A in our Constitution, and then bring a constitutional amendment. For me, it just speaks to nomenclature. I really think so. Because all we know is the leading party in the minority. But I also think that it borrows from the traditions, especially of the British system, where there is more like a loyal, a respected opposition, which we know is an alternative to government. It is something else in Uganda, but we can discuss that outside the committee.
Honorable Odu, you talked about conventions. Honorable Odu, kindly help me repeat that question. Looks like...
Now, in your presentation on page 1, you quoted the law. The leader of the opposition shall be elected.
Oh, yes.
Now, the strongest justification by the mover when he came here, he said because he saw the word election. That's why he wants to provide for election. So, election is just one of the methods available to choose a leader of the opposition. So, my question was, can we now address this matter by replacing elected by designated, so that it speaks to your presentation that the party in the opposition with the greatest majority should be able to nominate?
I think elections take different forms, and again we talked about conventions here. They take chooses chosen. Yeah. So I think if the internal processes of a political party allow for a voting, that is okay. If it allows for a designation within the party, because I have emphasized that political parties have their own internal mechanisms. When you become a member of a political party, you must subscribe to those internal mechanisms, regulations, and procedures. So you do not want to impose an election, and then after you've put, say, the word election in the strict sense means voting, in the strict sense means, get the electoral commission, and then you will want to impose that on a political party whose internal procedures are a little bit different. So again, you may want to...
the indulgence of Honorable Alasso as a seasoned legislator to address her mind to Article 82A2.